Can you see?
Yes, I see general fund. Looks like general fund presentation.
Yeah. Okay. And then as I move through it, can you see different slides?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And you can probably see like the header or whatever, like the toolbar.
Yes.
I can get rid of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a full screen mode.
Yeah, that's better.
That's better. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Are you the presenter for all of the items except the food forest project? And is that Spooner? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, so right now I should stop share, right?
Yes.
Okay. Right around the time when I will start to be comfortable with all of this will be when we stop doing it. You realize?
Back.
Yeah.
We're all getting pretty good at it, I think. So
I think some people are better at it than others, but I've survived.
It's worked out, I would say.
Yeah. So I talked to somebody else today who had their second shot, and they were definitely struggling.
Yeah, I took a nap the day after. I don't usually take naps.
Yeah.
And that I think that if like an annual booster becomes a reality, I would like to get it like on a Thursday so I could take the Friday off. Like I wish I would have timed it better and not ate up my whole weekend, but it's fine. It's still exciting to get the vaccine.
Yeah. I read today that I think it's the Netherlands. They've reinstituted the Johnson & Johnson.
Oh.
Because I think the name of the thing is like the regulator or whatever. They've decided that the benefits outweigh the risks. So
hopefully that's an example for other decision makers.
Might do, although the Netherlands certainly do a lot of things nobody else does.
That's true. That's true. Pretty progressive.
Yeah. You ever been?
No, but I've read about it.
Yeah, I went to Amsterdam about 4 years ago now for maybe 10 days in the summer.
Wow.
Yeah, which was really nice because we knew somebody who lives there too, so we were able to stay with them, and it was great. I mean, we did not use a car for 10 days. We went on one bus. Otherwise, we rode bikes everywhere and walked, and yeah, it was a nice way to live.
Nice way to live. Yeah.
Yes. Hello, Paige.
Hi. Hi, Colin. Hi, Kristen.
Hi, Paige.
Hi. So, Kristen, just to confirm, it's okay. We can say our location during roll call. Is that fine?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. And you don't have to give address. Just city, state, or township, state.
Okay. Great.
Anything exciting happening, Paige?
Well, both of my kids' soccer and lacrosse games are still on for tonight, believe it or not.
Really?
So I kind of thought the snow would be a good excuse to be at home tonight, but not the case, I guess.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I guess depending how old you are, it might actually be kind of fun to play in it, you know?
Yeah, they had, for soccer practice, I think it was like 2 Thursdays ago, they had just torrential rain the entire time, and both my kids thought it was fun. They were,
Yeah.
Soaked to the bone. I was sitting in the car, looking at it, thinking how miserable it was, but they thought it was a lot of fun. So
Yeah, actually, Josh Landefeld, he's at soccer practice this afternoon, but he'll be in the car.
yeah.
He'll kind of call in or whatever, but yeah, that'll be like his situation.
Yep. Yes. Otherwise, I don't know. Not too much exciting this week.
Let me just grab one thing. We got a surprise at the end of last week. Remember Moon, the service dog?
Yeah. Tuesday, April 20th, 2021 meeting of the Parks Advisory Commission on this snowy Tuesday. This meeting is being held electronically to protect public health and safety due to the COVID-19 virus and to comply with orders issued by the governor, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and or the Washtenaw County Health Department. We intend to conduct this meeting similarly to an in-person meeting. However, please be patient if there are technical issues. Public comment will be via telephone only. To speak during any of the public comment opportunities, please call 877-853-5247 or another of the published numbers and enter meeting ID 949-7173-0458. This information is also available on the published agenda in the public notices section of the city website and on the broadcast of this meeting on CTN Channel 16, AT&T Channel 99, and online at www.a2gov.org/watchctn, select government channel. One additional thing to note at the beginning of our meeting is the new Open Meetings Act requirements for participating in electronic meetings. Each member of the commission must make a public announcement at the outset of the meeting stating that the member is attending the meeting remotely and the member's physical location at the time of the meeting. So when Colin calls roll, please say here, state that you are attending the meeting remotely, and please state your location. You can say city or township or village and the state that you're in. So Colin, could you please call the roll?
Commissioner Apple, Commissioner Marson,
I'm here, and I'm in Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Commissioner Borgsdorf,
Present, broadcasting live from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
and Commissioner London.
Present, remotely from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Commissioner Morrison,
Here, attending remotely from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Commissioner Kraut, Commissioner Ramaswamy,
Kavina here from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Commissioner Skiles,
Here, attending remotely from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Commissioner Smith,
I'm here attending remotely from Ann Arbor, Michigan. I want to apologize for being in my bed, but about an hour and 10 minutes ago, I get hit by a stomach bug. So
Okay.
if I go, if I turn off my camera, it's for the good.
Okay. And Councilmember Grand.
Oh, I'm also here remotely from Ann Arbor, Michigan.
You have a quorum.
Okay, thanks so much, Colin. And Patty, we hope you feel better.
Yeah.
Moving on to approval of the agenda. It was included in your packets. Are there any questions or additions or changes to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 4, our first public comment period. Kristen, do we have any callers for public comment today?
No callers.
Okay, thank you. Just so everyone knows, there will be a second public comment period at the end of this meeting. Moving on to item 5, approval of minutes of previous meetings. We actually have minutes to approve from 2 meetings. So the first are the minutes of the March 16th, 2021 PAC meeting. They were included in your packet. Is there a motion to approve?
I had a change. I was present at that meeting. I was marked as absent, I think.
Okay, thank you for that note.
I may have not contributed very much, but I was in fact present at the meeting. I was tardy, so it's not that there was some mishap with Colin taking the role. As I learned in high school, first period I would be absent, second period I would be tardy. There's a difference, right?
Well, we always appreciate your contributions, Steve, and we'll make note of that correction that you were present for the March 16th meeting.
With that correction, I would move to approve.
Okay, all right. Yep, with that
Second.
amendment, motion by Lauren to approve. Is that a second by Anne? Okay, great. All in favor of approving the March 16th, 2021 minutes with the addition of Steve to the attendance, say aye.
Hi.
I
All opposed? Great, thank you. Minutes from March are approved. Next are the minutes of the February 23rd, 2021 PAC meeting. Are there any corrections to those minutes or a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Anne,
I'll
second
second.
by Patty. Great. All in favor of approving the March 23rd, 2021 PAC minutes, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, thank you. Minutes are approved. Item 6, presentations. We don't have any presentations today. Item 7, reports. First is the report from the Parks and Recreation Manager, Colin.
Yeah, I can provide sort of the monthly update on how things are going as it pertains to COVID and spring. It is actually spring, even though we have snow in the air right now. But we opened the livery actually on Saturday for Gallup livery opened up and had kind of a good first weekend. Argo will open on the weekends in May. And then Argo opens full-time Memorial Day weekend. But up until then, you could go to Gallup on the weekdays. Things continue to be really very busy at the golf courses. Ever since they've opened up, I imagine probably not today, but if the weather's halfway decent, courses are really full. We have all of the procedures in place that we used last year, limiting the amount of people in the clubhouses, things like that. And it's been good in terms of the customers have been respectful and understanding that those things are still in place. It's been kind of a good experience that way for sure. Everything continues on at the farmers market. All the procedures in place, we've gotten really pretty used to them over the last year. They continue to work pretty well. We're excited that we're able to offer a couple of classes at the senior center finally. That's a place that we weren't able really to do much of anything, well, anything for the longest time, but we are able to offer certain classes where we're able to distance people easily. And I know that that's been appreciated by some. We are working hard on the outdoor pools, starting to get them up for the season. And the camps, I think you got an update at the last meeting, but the registration numbers are really, really good. There's long wait lists actually for the camps that we have. So we continue just to work on the activities for those within the guidelines that we're going to have to follow for the summer for that, but we're feeling good overall on the camps. Outdoor park and shelter rentals, we have put those on hold through at least May 5th. While they are technically outdoor gatherings are allowed by the MDHS order, there's a lot of things in place that restrict what you can do at that outdoor gathering. You can't really mingle, you can't eat food and drink as you move about, all the things that people would kind of naturally do if they were to have a graduation party or something along those lines. So we've just decided that until we can implement that safely, we're going to hold off on rentals. That obviously doesn't prohibit people from going out to use the park of their own accord, you know, if they'd like to. But in terms of actually like having the shelters rented out at this stage, we're going to wait until at least May 5th. Let's see what else we've got. We are still open at the ice arena for vets, which seems like what we should be doing today with the snow. We have started up volunteer events for NAP. They're actually pretty busy with volunteer events. We are restricting the size of those events again so that we can space people out adequately, and things are going on for the burn season also, which is good. We're also working a lot on Adopt a Park this year, kind of more staff for that than we do for the GIVE programs. Usually have large crowds of people, like really large volunteer groups in a condensed space. So we're focusing the efforts on kind of Adopt a Park for the 2021 season. We have started to mow. Hopefully we won't have to plow tomorrow morning, but we have started to mow about a week earlier than usual because it has been pretty good weather, kind of warm enough to really start to get some growth. And we are ongoing with hiring for seasonal staff. It is going pretty slowly. I just kind of want people to be aware of that. We are promoting all the ways that we can think of. We're getting a lot of support from HR, but it is slower than we would like. It's not yet staged to panic, but we're certainly keeping our eyes on it. And if there's an update, I'll certainly give it for all of you. Last but not least, no, actually I have two more things. One is we are actually going to work with a contractor to replace the surfacing at 12 playgrounds across the city in most likely May. I expect the work to be done by June. This is usually something we do with large volunteer groups and park operations. This is when we spread the 5R at the playground spaces. It's kind of like when we do it, it looks brand new. It's kind of like if you paint your house, right? And it's also safe, looks good. Usually we're only able to do maybe 6 complete kind of rehauls a season, but we're going to hire out, get 12 done. They'll be throughout the city. So you should be seeing that, which I think will be an improvement for sure. And then we had last week, we had an opportunity come available very quickly to apply for a grant, federal funding, as a result of the House Committee on the Transportation and Infrastructure. So that provides federal funding. We were able to identify the Vandermeer to Barton connection, the tunnel there, as a project that would have met, or that meets kind of a lot of the criteria for projects that they are interested in. So we worked really quickly with all of our colleagues at Washtenaw County Parks to submit an application. We'll see if it comes through. I mean, it would be absolutely great if it does, because it can fund up to 80% of that project. So it was a lot of work done really quickly by a lot of people, and fingers crossed it will lead to something good. So that is everything for updates for now.
Great, thanks, Colin. Any questions or comments regarding Colin's report? None right now. Okay, and Colin, thanks. You sent out a really thorough update last week too, which is very helpful.
No problem.
Well, thanks. Okay, moving on to item 7B, report from the Recreation Advisory Commission. Patty, do you have a report this month?
No, I talked to Jenna last night and nothing for this month.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you. We don't have any other relevant commissions, committees, boards, or task forces right now. So we will move on to item 8, unfinished business. Our first and only item is an update on the
Paige, can I just circle back to the just to mention that the Council of the Commons is in fact underway. We've had a couple of meetings. There's a sort of a good rhythm and rapport with the group. We're just kind of getting our legs under us and getting that going. But I didn't want to have it be unmentioned at this particular meeting that group is actually underway and meeting. So.
Nope, I'm sorry. That was my mistake. I forgot that had begun. So thanks for providing that update. And definitely feel free at our next meeting if you do have something else.
Yeah, for further updates as events develop. So.
Okay, great. Thanks, Steve. So now we'll move on to the update on the Leslie Park Food Forest, and we have Scott Spooner joining us. Hi, Scott.
Hello. So if you remember last fall, I came before you to talk about the Leslie Park Food Forest. One of the things that happened is you forwarded a resolution that said the food forest in the city would develop a working agreement over the winter, and we have developed a working agreement, and the food forest has signed that, and now it is going to be forwarded on to the people at the city for them to sign. Just a reminder that we no work was going to happen until this is all signed and the insurance is in place. But once that happens, then the food forest can go ahead with a pilot program for this year that and then they will come back to PAC in October and report back on the season. And at that point, PAC can decide if they want to go forward with this more, or if other options are available. So I don't, right now, I don't know if there's anything else. If there are any questions, I think the contract is included in the packet that was,
Yeah,
that went
it
out.
is. Yep, it was included in the packet that was sent around to everyone. So are there any questions for Scott or for Colin?
I had a quick one. So Scott, they were speaking about applying for nonprofit status this year. Do you know what the progress has been on that score?
Well, they decided not to go with a nonprofit, and they went with their other business. I believe Shinasi might be on the phone. Kristen, hold on.
Yes, sorry. Let's see.
Okay. Yeah, I think they're on Zoom actually.
Great.
Oh yeah.
Hi. Can you hear
There
us?
we go.
Hi. Yes. Hi.
Yes.
We can hear you now.
Good. So our understanding was that we needed to be there needed.
You're actually on mute now, it looks like.
Hi again. So our understanding was that there needed to be something more coherent and official than just, loosely defined coalition of residents, and that there needed to be some sort of organization. So we did not come away understanding or saying or intending to say that it needed to only be a nonprofit status. We took on the insurance under our LLC and are sponsoring the project as this organization, True Earth, with the same coalition of city residents. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. It makes sense. Just to be clear, so is there a divide in entity between the business and this group of people running the food forest? I think that was one point of discussion that we had sort of had.
So in terms of the legal entity, hi, this is Robin. Shanasi and I are here together.
Hi.
In terms of the legal entity, it is the same one. And in large part of that is because of wanting to keep all of our fundraising and organizing efforts focused on getting the actual on-the-ground work done at the food forest. Making the legal, creating a nonprofit is a pretty involved and can be a costly endeavor, and we really want to be focusing there. So the legal entity is the same. And part of that was because it is also eligible for the Sustaining Ann Arbor Together grant, and we're looking at where that fits in with the timeline of the food forest. It is the same coalition of people. So functionally, we are working as a team. We've had one coalition meeting this season, and we'll be having another one where we're sharing the responsibility and delegating tasks with this group of diverse Ann Arbor residents who came together wanting to make this project happen.
Mm-hmm. Is that helpful?
Yeah, it is helpful. I think, one question we may have as we proceed is just to make sure that there's enough of a separation between the group that's kind of working, and it doesn't necessarily need to be a legal separation. I'm not sure. I'm just kind of processing, but just to make sure that this group of residents is its own entity and isn't beholden to the business in any way. Do you know what I mean?
And that is the way that this entire project came about, is as a coalition of residents. And that's the way it is still functioning. For this year, which is a temporary year, like we don't have final approval, and we needed to be insured, True Earth is sponsoring the project and taking on the responsibility of insurance so that we can actually proceed with the project. Should we get permanent approval, I think it could make sense to kind of more formally transfer that. But that is, as Robin said, a lot of work and potentially a fair expense. And right now we want to focus on what we're supposed to do this year and demonstrate the value and the merit of the project. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. That makes a lot of sense. Is there anything in the contract that speaks to that right now? Or like in Colin, maybe I apologize. I'm not familiar enough. I should be.
I am in the middle of pulling it up. Scott, if you have it up, go ahead. But
it does not explicitly say that it needs to be a nonprofit.
Yeah.
In
Okay. It needs to be under an umbrella of something like an entity to sort of move forward and have that protection as far as insurance is concerned, et cetera.
Yes.
Okay, I will defer if others have questions. Thank you very much for that. It's helpful.
Lauren, other questions or thoughts? Okay, Srinathi and Robin, was there anything else that you wanted to add at this time?
Yeah, just because I'm listening to the meeting as it has rolled so far, I have a question for you, Colin. We are looking at doing our first educational event out there in early May, and we're really committed to COVID safe protocol. And I heard you say that you have a cap on numbers for some of the outdoor events.
Yeah.
So what is that? How are you gauging that?
Well, I'd be happy to maybe speak with you to understand all of the details of the event, and we could sort that out. But I mean, I think overall, the capacity size for kind of the group events we're doing mostly are 25 or less, but it can be more. We just have to figure out how to spread out people. And the main thing is really that we have either staff or people in charge of the group, because then you can actually manage it. So I think we would be happy to speak with you as to kind of the details of it and to help have it actually be a success and see it through with the COVID guidelines.
Okay, and we do, I mean, this is an area where we have a good deal of experience with community organizing, and last year, obviously, it was COVID for everybody. We got in the rhythm of doing a lot of our work outdoors, and so we have some really good ideas, but I'm curious, and it would be good to connect. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Anything else?
Okay, that's a great point. Any other questions from the commissioners? Okay, all right. Well, Srinathi and Robin, thank you for joining us. And Scott, thanks to you for bringing us the update.
Thanks so much. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to new business. Item 9A is a resolution recommending approval of fiscal year 2022-23 fee adjustments for parks and recreation services. And I'd like to invite Colin to give us more information here.
Yep, just taking a couple of notes down.
Sure. Take your time.
Okay, I have a presentation which actually covers the fees and the budget, so it probably makes sense just to share that now. It will look familiar to what you saw in January because a lot of it is the same. But let me get the screen here. Okay, can everybody see that? Yep, okay. Okay, so just to really quickly go over kind of where we've come from. At the end of 2020, I shared with PAC the reduction on the general fund would be 5%. We spoke about what that could look like at the January meeting with impacts that were shared. And those went on to council in February. And we really have not received very many questions from council about them. I think they've been received fairly well. We haven't been led to believe otherwise anyhow. So what we really have before you today, the recommendations are going to look a lot like what was shared in January. And those go forward as a part of the administrator's proposed budget. which City Council will take action on in May. So I thought it would just be helpful to review really quickly kind of how Parks is primarily funded. There are kind of a handful of other smaller funding sources, but really it comes down to two things. It comes down to the general fund and the millage. So that these are numbers for the current year that we're in, FY 2020, the overall expenditure budget, a little over 15.5 million. Of that, roughly 60% is the general fund and 40% is the parks millage. So just for context. So to start with, we'll actually talk about the millage. The good news, there is no reduction in the millage. This comes through the property taxes. If anything, the revenue is going to be a little bit higher is what's projected on that front. So what we have here is just a table that outlines kind of the main things that the millage supports. You can see the list from park operations, park forestry, adopt park NAP, park planning and capital, the amount in the current fiscal year, and then the amount in the first year of the proposed budget. You see there's a little bit of an increase in park operations, a little bit of a decrease in park forestry, and a little bit of an increase in the capital park planning. That's in large part due to grant that we're anticipating there for $200,000. But basically, we are able to maintain the same levels of service with a little bit more revenue, allowing for higher expenditures in the majority of the programs. Moving on to the general fund, we still have the target that we have to hit for the 5%, which is that comes from what the FY22 projections for expenses are, 9.185 million. You take the 5% of that, come out with 459,000. That's the target that we need to achieve as a part of the administrator's proposed budget. The way that we propose doing it is a combination of expenditure impacts and revenue. Starting with the expenditure, these were all shared actually back in January. There isn't anything new here, but I do think it's worth just highlighting. Although there are cuts being done, we are going to increase funding to community centers for 5,000 to Bryan Community Center. We do need to do some adjustments in seasonal staffing and materials and supplies at locations where we're busier. This has also provided us opportunity, I think, to finally just go with an online brochure because everything is up in the air and changes. The idea to have a printed brochure doesn't really seem to work right now, so we're going online, and that should save about $8,000. We have supplemental field mowing. This is through Rec and Ed that we are proposing to eliminate. And we've spoken to Rec and Ed, they're aware of that. And we can certainly work with them if they would like to supplement it. And we have a couple corrections just for kind of admin items. And then the main thing is a reallocation of staff time for $103,000. So that's staff time that is currently in the general fund that we're proposing to move to the millage. It's for staff, for a portion of staff for work that they perform, which is really in the maintenance sphere, which is an eligible expense in the millage. Moving on to revenue, we have a couple of impacts that are not related to fees. These are just adjustments from kind of what we're seeing. And at the golf courses, we anticipate higher revenue because we really have been super busy and continue to be this season, which is great news. And then there's also an online store that I think I shared with you back in January. Kind of the idea is to have an e-commerce is, I believe, the phrase. And the notion is to work with a provider that can actually make merchandise on a on-demand kind of basis so that we don't have to actually purchase inventory. So we're excited to see how that goes. That's actually out right now on a request for proposals, and we'll see what we get back in the next couple of weeks on that. Now we move into fees. I split these up kind of by activity. So starting with the swimming pools, We're proposing fee increases for a number of things, and we propose that they become effective actually this year as we open up May 29th. And just to give an idea, the last time that we had a increase on swim kind of admissions for the daily visits, that was actually 2011. And the last time we had an increase on lessons was 2006. So the percentage increase, seems quite substantial. It's 20 to 25% increase. What that means is for kids and adults, for kind of the daily admission, we're proposing an increase from $5 to $6 for adults, kids $4 to $5. Swim lesson would go from $45 to $55. And overall, this would have an impact of about $90,000 in revenue is what we're anticipating. At the ice rink, these are also fees that have not been touched in a long time. It actually surprised me to see it's all the way back to 2005 as the last time that we could find a increase on skating lessons and skating admissions. So here, an example would be for kind of the general admission to skating. For kids, it would go from $4 to $5. For adults, it would go $5 to $7. And overall, the impact about $38,000. Also proposing fees at the athletic fields. Fuller and Olson, these are kind of what we call the formal athletic fields for soccer. They're also used for lacrosse and ultimate frisbee and things like that. So the last time these fees were increased was 2010. Looking at a 20% increase, that would mean, for example, if you were to rent Fuller, it's $60 per hour. Currently, it would go up to $72 per hour. And the impact would be about $10,000 with this fee increase. Moving on to Cobblestone and other facility room rental fees. The other facility rental rooms are kind of the meeting room at Livery for Gallup. There's a meeting room there. There's a meeting room at the Senior Center and also Veterans Memorial Park. So those were last increased in 2014, the room rentals. For Cobblestone, their fees were last increased in 2017. And the room rentals looking 20%, Cobblestone about 12%. And we also have a new rental offering there, which I'll explain in a minute. So, for example, if you were to rent the meeting room for Gallup after the fee increase, $40 today per hour, we're proposing increase that would go up to $50 per hour. For Cobblestone, there's really two kind of main seasons there. There's November through April, which is kind of the non-prime season. For those rentals, we're proposing an increase of a little over 10%. So for example, if you were to rent Cobblestone Farm on Saturday, it would currently cost you $1,420. It would go up to $1,595. Then we're proposing a new fee for the prime season, which is May through October. And this is, we actually started doing this back in 2017, where people could rent an additional day. So what this allows is, if you're having an event, to actually rent the facility for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And this is kind of a trend that's happening with venues for things, kind of elaborate weddings. It allows you time on Friday to set up, have your event on Saturday, and then instead of having to tear your event down at 1 a.m. on Saturday, you can come back and take care of it on Sunday. And this is kind of the trend that we're seeing for wedding venues. So we're proposing that that be the weekend fee as we move forward. We are keeping Monday through Thursday rates May through October the same. So there are more kind of cost-effective options for people if they're interested in those. And then there's also certainly November to April available, also in kind of the more affordable fashion. So overall, the impact a little over $26,000 for Cobblestone and the facility rooms. At the golf course, the last time we had an increase here, this is actually specifically for Leslie Park. We're not proposing any increases for Huron Hills. These are the weekend rates for Leslie Park. They were last increased back in 2008. And the rates we're proposing to increase roughly 15 to 30%, depending if you're playing 18 holes, 9 holes, or Twilight. So if you were to play 18 at a cart, 18 with a cart at Leslie on the weekend is currently $47. It would go up to $55. We feel here, and the case really with all the other fees that I've mentioned, that when you have a look at the comparative information that was provided in the packet, even with the fee increases, things are still very competitive and very reasonable. The reason that we're particularly, I think, comfortable with the increase at the golf course is what we found the last really couple of years, even before COVID, are the weekend, kind of the prime time things on the weekend, which is basically the morning up until 2 o'clock. We are completely booked if the weather is halfway nice. So we have a lot of demand for those times. And I think that this is an increase which makes sense. If we're always able to do a special off it, so we can always go lower in the price if we need to, but we can't go higher unless we actually approve a higher fee. So that's what's being proposed here, and the impact would be about $20,000. At the liveries for Argo and Gallup, we have last increase was 2018. It's kind of a smaller percent increase here, roughly 10 to 15%. So the main thing, kind of the most common thing that people do is they take the Argo to Gallup trip in a kayak. 2 people, that would go $27 to $30. Still very, comparatively speaking, very competitive. And the impact on this would be substantial just because of the traffic that we get would be almost $100,000. Last but not least, the farmers market. These would be effective actually next year. So for the 2022 season, they were last increased in 2016. And these are the stall fees that vendors pay for kind of the rental of the stall space. And they would see about a 10 to 15% increase. So for example, if you're a annual vendor and you take 2 stalls, currently costs you $950, it would be projected to go to $1,055. And impact be about $15,000. This was information was all shared with the Public Market Advisory Commission at the end of last week, was received quite well, actually. So those are all the fees. And just to wrap up then, the way that we reached the 459,000, the expenses, a little over 100,000, and the revenue almost 350,000. Of that, about 300,000 related to fees. And that is everything for the presentation. I can answer questions, I hope, and we've also got Josh, I believe, is available on the phone, but I will stop the share here and take questions.
Okay, great. Thanks, Helen. Rachel, go ahead.
For the Cobblestone Farm rental during peak season, am I understanding correctly that your only option would be to do the 3-day rental?
Yeah, that's what we're proposing for right now. We started doing kind of a 2-day option in 2019, and the majority of rentals went that route. And then the ones that we had on the books for 2020, which didn't happen, was also a majority of renters wanting a multi-day thing. From kind of the other facilities that we've looked at and heard, again, it seems to be kind of a trend that way. It is something that we can reevaluate if we hear feedback, which is certainly different, but we can't do it without the creation of the
Right. I would be interested in information once. I don't know when you're going to have a wedding season, but when you have a wedding season, what the feedback is, because as I know, we all know, parks are considered one of the most affordable venues if you need to keep a shoestring budget. So I'm wondering if there might be a split between, you know, some people who just like the venue and can afford the higher price, and maybe some people who are picking the venue because it's significantly more affordable, and that might push them out. Just a speculation.
Yeah, and I mean, it's certainly something that staff, spoke about and discussed from exactly that kind of standpoint. I think in the end, we're comfortable with proposing it because it does seem to be kind of desired in that 3-day window too, compared to what a lot of other places charge, is still, comparatively speaking, that's affordable. But it was also very much why we wanted to make sure that we kept the rates,
In the off
kind of the same from Monday through Thursday, and then in the kind of non-prime season, allowing single day rentals all the time then. But it is something that we will keep tabs on. I don't know if there's anything that you want to add on to that, Josh. I see you sitting in your car. At least I think it's a car.
Yes, sorry. I'm broadcasting from Livonia because my daughter's outside in the snow right now. So, so we, one other thing that we are doing is we have found that people are also finding other park spaces as well. The senior center has become a place where weddings are taking place, the Gallup meeting room. So there are also some, they're not as large as Cobblestone, but there are additional opportunities that we're marketing as well for additional spaces for that shoestring budget. So we are very aware of it. The demand of Cobblestone obviously creates part of that as well. So if we're 16 months out on a normal year of being sold, that's part of it as well. So
I just wanted to piggyback onto that. I got married at Cobblestone in 2015 on a Friday. And it was affordable, but only because my aunt helped us out. So I don't know if there's a way to have Friday be its own thing and have a 2-day rental. It sounds like maybe you tried that. I just want to just kind of echo that concern that there's no way we could have afforded that personally. And we got married on a Friday, so we didn't, and we tore down. Our friends came and helped us tore down at midnight on Friday. So just wanted to also echo that concern.
Yep. Understood. And I think we'll keep our eye on it very closely for sure if it goes ahead, and we can always adjust kind of accordingly. Yeah.
Steve, did you have a comment or question?
Yeah, I had a question about, thanks, Colin, for all the work that comes behind with the fee increases. They look reasonable in terms of how they compare to our prior rates. But I guess what drives my question is seeing where you had put it's been 2008 since this was changed, or 2010 since that was changed. I'm just wondering for us as a commission, is there a way that's maybe staff can help us think about like a regular review process for those? Are there criteria that we ought to be considering, or a certain passage of time or certain change of conditions or something that would trigger that? I know that the current economic circumstances triggered us to go back and look at all these options, but I'm just kind of wondering, as sort of stewarding these things going forward, are there sort of more of a regular process that we might put in place for some of these kind of fee assessments?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And it's one that, as I was putting together all of this information, that I was kind of asking myself too. There is, I think, an opportunity to do something maybe on a more regular basis. It's hard in the sense that I don't think an annual increase of 3% works very well for this, because from just also the standpoint of it would lead to some really bizarre prices at the swimming pool. It'd be $5 and then $5.15 and $5 whatever, right? As you go kind of year to year. But I do think that considering a specific amount of time at which all fees should be reevaluated, even if that's every 3 years or 5 years, we do look at fees on an annual basis, but we don't necessarily bring them forward if there's not an impact for budget, or if we feel really the biggest thing is kind of the comparative information. And that's something that staff look at constantly. It depends what facility it is, but for the golf courses, for example, the pricing for golf is really, really all over the place. It's extremely dynamic. So staff actually call other courses on a regular basis to see what the fees are. And there's a large part of it is kind of what the market will bear. But I guess the short answer to your question is yes. I think it would make sense to come up with an amount of time, whether that be 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and increase things on kind of a more standard basis.
Steve, does that sound good to you? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the commentary. That makes sense to me.
Okay, great. Rachel, did you have another comment?
Yes, I actually wanted on the same topic. I'm wondering if that process does end up being adopted, if we adjusted fees regularly and it wasn't because of a budget strain, if there might be a tag-along process where a certain amount of the additional revenue that's generated triggers additional scholarship funding or something. So the more you raise prices, the more people will be able to afford to enjoy parks, which has long been known to be one of the more affordable things you can do. So maybe those could grow in tandem.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate both the comment and I mean, it's also, I should remind everybody too that scholarships for Ann Arbor residents are available. They're income based, and there's actually no limit on the number that we award. So it's completely need based. There's not a cost out of pocket, so to speak, to provide it. So it's what those scholarships provide too. In kind of a normal summer would be a swim pass for the family, and it would be the usually I think 3 programs. So you could do the day camps, for example. There's a small cost to those. I think it's $5 or $10 just for a registration fee for that. But everything else is free, like swim lessons, skating. And it is something that we promoted more this year, actually, as a result for day camps. We held a certain amount of spots for scholarship recipients and have kind of done a more proactive job of actually trying to reach folk who could really stand to benefit from that. But I think that we continue to look and see what's an appropriate amount of spots to reserve for scholarships, but we do more to promote the availability of the scholarship for sure.
Anne.
Who primarily is renting the fields at like Fuller and Olson Park? And like, how do we communicate to them the fee increases, and are those marketed at all?
Do you want to take it?
Yeah, so the primary user that we have is the Ann Arbor Soccer Association. They've kind of been taking some time off here over the last year, but as they began to promote or think about what they're going to do, we had a conversation with them about 3 weeks ago and let them know that this was coming. So their season that will go June and July will be at the current rate, but they know that their September program will be there. The other one is an organization, the MPSA, Michigan Premier Soccer Academy Crush program. They're their main youth user. And again, as they started to look at their spring program, we let them know that it was coming. Both of them understood, nobody likes to pay more money, but they understood that it's been a while. And they understood it, thought it made sense. And we really, because of kind of the limitations and how we use the fields, being a soccer person, they're really good fields in this area, and they're not torn up an awful lot. So, and we do a lot of the prep work with lining and things that other fields are just come as it is. So both of those groups were communicated with, and they know that it's coming.
Are those fields like used at to their maximum capacity right now?
No, and part of it is a balance, and there's a balance of how much do we want the fields to be high quality, how much do we want them to be used regularly. The Ann Arbor Soccer Association uses them 4 days a week, and there's a heavy use on them, which wears them down, which means that we then need to rotate them through. So we usually have about one field that's not in use each season. But the last couple of years, it's been a really weird time for field use. So we continue to try to manage a little bit more so that we can get them regularly. I mean, then the other nice thing is we have we have 5 fields that we really program well. And then there's the field down by the bridge and then across the street that are for public use. We really don't program out of them very often, just so that there is opportunities for people to do pickup games and use them on a regular basis.
Thanks.
I have a really minor question, Colin, about the farmers market. Since the Saturday market is year round now, when does the 2022 season actually start?
So the invoices for the 2022 season would go out in the, I think it's the spring of 22. Are they due July 1? Is that
June 30th? So
yeah, that's right.
Okay.
The vendors for July 1 are paying are invoiced right now. They are due by the 30th. And then, so this will really be they'll pay for July 1 of 22, June 23, but it'll hit in this fiscal year.
Got it.
Or this next fiscal year.
Okay. Yep. Any other questions or comments? And I do want to thank Patty for, again, stepping up as our finance person. And I know she had a chance to meet with Colin a week or so ago and go all over all of this information before it even came to our meeting today. So thanks, Patty, for stepping into that role.
One thing, if I could just add, as it kind of goes through my mind for kind of the cobblestone fees to one thing that continues to be the case at Cobblestone, and which makes it kind of a good option, I think, for a lot of people, is we don't require that there's a specific caterer that is used. So however you want to provide food and drink for your parties from wherever, pretty much, that is available. We have no plans to change that. For sure. And I think that's something which I know a lot of people appreciate, that both from just they have choices for food that fall outside, perhaps what's a standard menu at places, to if it is a financial constraint, certainly helpful that way.
Mm-hmm. Any other comments or questions? Thanks, Colin, for such a thorough report, as always. I know you and your staff, and Josh too, you guys put a lot of time into this, so it shows. It's appreciated. So we do have a resolution before us. There's 2 resolutions, but we'll do them one at a time. So the first, again, is item 9A, resolution recommending approval of fiscal year 2022-23 fee adjustments for parks and recreation services. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Steve, seconded by Mike. Any further comments? All in favor of approving the resolution, please say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, resolution passes. Thank you. Moving on to commission proposed business, item 10C. And this is, again, what was included in Colin's presentation. Park Advisory Commission resolution on the fiscal year 2022 proposed budget and fiscal year 2023 budget plan for Parks and Recreation Services. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Steve, seconded by Lauren. Any further comments or discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor of approving the resolution, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, great. That resolution passes. Okay, thanks.
Did anybody get the dog's vote?
Yes, we heard that.
All right, thank you. And Josh, thanks for being able to join us to help with those questions. So
my pleasure. Nothing better to do. So.
Way to multitask. Moving on to item 11, land acquisition matters. We do have a land acquisition matter to discuss today. And as a point of clarification that Kristen was very helpful with, we need to do a roll call vote to move into a closed session.
So Paige, I have one question. So, or maybe to Kristen. So I know that this link of the original meeting didn't work. Is there a new link for the LAC, or can we use the
There was a email that Kristen sent at 3:27, I believe, that has the new LAC Zoom on it. Is that right? Yeah.
Yes, I sent a few emails to you guys earlier today. I'll send it to you again, Pravina, so it's at the top.
Thank you.
Right.
Sorry.
No, that's
no problem.
Good question. There were multiple links today, so it's good to clarify. Make sure we're all joining the right Zoom. We need a motion to move into closed session to discuss land acquisition matters. Motion by Rachel. Is there a second? Seconded by Patty. Okay, Colin, could you please do a roll call vote for us?
Yeah. Commissioner Apple. Commissioner Marson.
Yes.
Commissioner Borgsdorf.
Aye.
Commissioner London.
Aye.
Commissioner Morrison.
Aye.
Commissioner Kraut.
Yes.
Commissioner Ramaswamy. Commissioner Skyless.
Aye.
And Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have the vote, so we will leave this Zoom link and go into the LAC Zoom link.
Okay.
All
right.
Thank you.
Hi, Kristen, we're coming back.
Hi. Thank you.
Including Colin. A motion, a second, and a roll call vote to exit the closed session for LAC. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, motion by Lauren to exit closed session, seconded by Steve. Oh, seconded by either. Okay, seconded by Steve. Colin, could you please do a roll call vote?
Commissioner Apple.
Yay.
Commissioner Marson.
Aye.
Commissioner Borsdorf.
Aye.
Commissioner London.
Aye.
Commissioner Morrison.
Aye.
Commissioner Kraut.
Yeah.
Commissioner Ramaswamy. Lost her. Commissioner Skiles.
She just raised her hand. So,
Oh, really? Okay.
oh,
there we
yeah.
go.
Yeah, there we go. She's
Okay. Now I'm part of your party.
Okay. Commissioner Skiles. And Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
okay, great. We have the votes to end our closed session. Thank you. We do have one item coming out of our land acquisition committee meeting, which has been motioned by Mike. Mike, would you care to read the motion?
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion to recommend city participation with Washtenaw County Parks and Recreation Commission in the fee acquisition of property identified in application ID 2017-04 and approval of the contribution of funds not to exceed $230,000 from the Open Space and Parkland Preservation Millage.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Ruth. All right, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
The
opposed?
dog.
Yeah,
Dog
sorry.
agrees.
Someone just knocked on our front door, so I'm sorry. Okay, the motion passes. Thank you so much. Moving on to our second public comment period. Kristen, do we have anyone on the phone?
No callers.
Great, thank you. Communications are included in your packet. We have no need for a second closed session, so we stand adjourned. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye everyone.